Okay, let's pop to Bernie Sanders. Man, has he got Hillary jumping to his beat? He's singing the song. She's dancing. It kind of reminds me of those old westerns when you'd be in the bar and the outlaws would come in and start shooting at the feet of some patriot and said, dance. And he'd be shooting and that guy would start dancing. Hillary is dancing. Bernie is just making it happen. I don't know. I watch him. He's exciting. He is the Donald Trump of the Democratic Party. He would say he isn't and be very angry about that, but he really is. He speaks for the disaffected on the left. Donald Trump speaks for the disaffected on the right. We have said throughout this election that the two are very much together and that their voters are very much the same, though their politics are a little bit different. They're just not happy for good reason. The middle class has really tasted it in this country for years, and all the money's gone to the upper class. And it's just that simple, and the numbers show it, and there's no getting away from it. That, of course, though, is an indictment of President Barack Obama, but we're not into that here, into that issue. Bernie is just running with everything. But if you look at his daily news interview from like last week, what's really interesting is that this was a guy who's been a senator for years and years and years, and yet he doesn't seem to know what's going on. His foreign policy is lost. He's not prepared. He's kind of like Trump. He didn't really seem to have the advisors, but this guy's been on the scene. He's been caucusing with the Democrats for years. He should know what's going on. The way he feels about the Middle East, he doesn't know what's going on. He just doesn't. And I look back at his record. What does he know? And this is from a guy who thinks Bernie Sanders is hot and really happening. But as time goes along, it becomes more and more obvious that he doesn't seem to really understand what's going on. But it's because he just didn't think he would win the nomination, and now he thinks now it looks like he may have some type of a kind of serious chance, and he's trying to fill in the blanks. You can't just fill in the blanks on the run. You got to know where you believe. When you work in the Senate all those years, you better know where you believe, especially in foreign policy, because the Senate's so focused on foreign policy. Bernie's lost in foreign policy, and his foreign policy would be more of a travesty for the United States than the president's is. And I always say this. I've been saying it for so long. I'm a supporter of the president. I voted for the president twice. And it's just been such a disappointment. Such a disappointment. Bernie Sanders would take it a step further. Another thing to remember is, though, socialism isn't the USSR. USSR was, back then, for those who don't remember, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, the USSR was a dictatorship. But it was still based on quote-unquote socialism. Lenin, Karl Marx, all that stuff. And it didn't work. And it turned into a dictatorship. And people were really unhappy. And if you want to see really where socialism goes in the long run, look at the pictures of the wall coming down and how happy those Eastern Europeans were to be able to come over to the West and become part of the West. And read Animal Farm from George Orwell. And it's an old book, but read it. Don't see the movie. Read it. If you have to, see the movie. That's where Bernie Sanders would take us. Not that far, of course, not at all. I think Bernie Sanders is a good American and really cares about people. And I love his accent, and I love his action, and I love his momentum. There's just so much about him. But he's just not prepared. He's not ready, and he is not going to win. I just don't see how he can win. How can the Democrats pick somebody who will get handled? But just think what kind of an election this would be if you had Bernie Sanders on one hand and Ted Cruz on the other. The one great thing about this election is everybody always used to say, there is no difference. Who am I voting for? They're all the same. Not this year. They're not the same. So Bernie Sanders and foreign policy is just going to be so important. We believe, and I believe for so long, the foreign policy is really going to be the focus of where this country is going to be for the next 3-4 years. You have to have a president ready for foreign policy. Bernie isn't ready, but I'm not really here to jump him on that. I just think that he can't win. I don't think people are going to do it. I think they all like the idea of Bernie. Absent Hillary getting indicted, I just don't see him winning. And so we would say, keep on fighting Bernie. Keep her feet to the fire and make it happen. Tell us what you believe. Let people start worrying about the middle class. Don't give up. But I don't see it happening there in the Democratic convention. We're looking for Hillary, but Bernie Sanders, you're okay. You just don't know much about foreign policy, and that is a big bummer. Peace.